Welcome to Faith in 5, a weekly video devotional designed to discuss practical spiritual concepts in 5 minutes or less. I'm your host, Mark Vandella. Just a few days ago, I found myself driving past a outlet mall. And it's been so long with internet shopping and everything. It's been so long since I've been in a mall or driven even near an outlet mall. And I got to tell you, there's something like inside of me started showing up. And I honestly, I called my wife right after and I said, I have to talk to you. I had this feeling of wanting stuff. I saw all the brand names. You know how outlet malls are. It's just like every single brand name that you could ever think of. And then there's this feeling of I could get some really cool stuff for really cheap. Stuff I didn't need. Stuff I hadn't even thought about until I drove by it. And I didn't like what I felt. And it'd been a long time since I'd felt that. And I was like, I just quick called and said, I just don't like what this is doing. Because what happened was suddenly I became really aware of all the stuff I didn't have. And all the stuff that I did have seemed like it wasn't good enough. And I know I struggle, especially online ads just kind of show up. And we're constantly reminded of the stuff we don't have. And what if that constant reminder, that constant need or desire for more stuff prevents us from experiencing thankfulness? We're in the last week of our Eat, Drink, and Be Thankful series, and this week we're really focusing on how we could cultivate an attitude, a life full of thankfulness. And see, it's not, there's a couple examples of both Billy Graham and the Bible give us some examples of what it takes to be thankful. It's not something that just happens. It's actually something we have to practice. So Billy Graham says that thankfulness, like happiness, is something that we kind of embrace, that we own, regardless of the circumstances in our lives. See, it's the happiness and contentment that fills our soul, even in the midst of some of the most difficult situations. He says this is the kind of happiness, this is the kind of practice that brings about thankfulness no matter what's going on. This is the type of happiness, this fulfillment that our heart and our souls actually ache for. In the Bible, in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, the apostle in that book is talking about this struggle between having some ailments, he calls them handicaps in one of the versions. And he says, I used to look at that and just focus on it and ruminate it. It's what I don't have. I was so aware of what I didn't have. The stuff that I couldn't see. And I asked, it says in 2 Corinthians 12:7, that I asked God to take this from me. Give me what I want. Give me my stuff. And I asked him 3 times. And God responded with this. He says, my grace is enough. It's all you need. My strength comes into you, comes into its own in your weakness. And the apostle goes on to talk about that. That changed his perspective. Instead of always focusing on what we don't have and the stuff that we're missing, what if we saw that some of the stuff we don't have actually are the places where we need to step closer to God? Whether it's circumstances or actual possessions, the more that we chase those things and the more that we fill our lives up with that stuff, it might be actually taking us away from this practice of thankfulness. Because if I can just hit click and pay, if I can just scan my card or even my phone or my Apple Watch or whatever it is, if it's that easy, maybe it forces us away from a practice of thankfulness and into a constant need for more stuff and being more aware of all what we don't have. And so this year, as we come out of Thanksgiving and we start going towards a holiday that often makes us so aware of what we don't have. Let's practice thankfulness. Take time to reflect on the grace that we have in God. Actually, take time to look at the places where maybe you don't feel good enough, the places that you don't have everything you want, and realize that it's in those places that we're reminded of God. Because God says that it's in those places that He shows up. That's when His strength really shines, is in our weakness. So this week and in the coming weeks, continue to reflect on what you do have and invite God into the places that you struggle and maybe where you're weak. That's the practice of thankfulness.